beginning on 23. At the time of the birth, the conscious spirit inhales the energy and thus becomes the dwelling of the newborn. It lives in the heart. From the time on, the heart is master, and the primal spirit loses its place while the conscious spirit has the power. Now, we know that conscious spirit as the self, and the awakening of this primal spirit, and we will get later to a statement in here about where it came from, is the process of meditation, as I understand it. The awakening, the quickening, the movement of that primal spirit within. But the other is in charge, and it's difficult for us to rise above that. I'm on page 29, paragraph 23, and you need to number these paragraphs in your book. Then we just talk about which paragraph we're on. So
you know, the reading says that the soul enters the body at the time of birth, at or about. And so this is what this paragraph's addressing, among other things, is that at that time, the Kabbalists say that at that time the angel of forgetfulness touches the lips of the newborn, and the previous experiences, the previous lives are no longer remembered. All of a sudden, at that moment of birth, then what the awareness has to deal with the conscious world, and we lose track of the deeper awareness of the soul or the primal spirit, such as that. Then, unless there is the meditation, we don't ever, during that lifetime or incarnation, have another awareness.
How many of you have seen a soul running around without a body? We've got 2 people in the audience that have ever seen a soul running around without a body. 3. Okay? You see, we are attached to the self as the body, as the person. And the real essence of us is quiet, sleeping, so to speak. May didn't know what I was saying. She's now discovered that she has seen one. It could be your hearing, May.
The primal spirit loves stillness. The conscious spirit loves movement. Isn't that the truth? Oh. How many of you feel like you're too busy with too many things to do? All right. You see, is that the higher self? There's a sense of duty about that. But is it really the higher self that says you've got to do this and that and the other?
Actually, I think you're lying to yourself when you say you don't enjoy this movement, because we get caught up in it. And it's so much easier to do something, anything, plow field or chop a load of wood, than it is to meditate. You know, if you just do something, you feel like you're getting something accomplished. You're not getting anything done. You're just running around in circles. And we lie to ourselves when we say that everything we're doing is so blastedly important that we've got to do it. And it's not true. The real self, the inner life, is so much more important.
The primal spirit loves stillness. The conscious spirit loves movement. In its movement, it remains bound to feelings and desires. Day and night, it wastes the primal seed till the energy of the primal spirit is entirely used up. Then the conscious spirit leaves the shell and goes away.
Boy, I've got that marked and underlined and starred and everything to remind myself. And every time I feel like I've just got to do this, and I go back and read this over. Slow down. When I had a heart attack, a little one. The doctor said if he was going to have a heart attack, he'd like one like mine, because just a little tiny one. But it scared the living daylights out of me, so I had to stay away from here for a long time. What I was able to do, and it was a momentous occasion in my life, I doubled my prayer and meditation time. Then I doubled that again in that period of 3 months while I was sitting it out. And it was gorgeous. I really... You know, now frankly, according to my wife and secretaries and children and so forth, I'm getting back running down the road. So I'm going to slow down again. Can't be done. You can't run. Whoever has done good in the main has spirit energy that is pure and clear when death comes. You remember one of the purposes was to kind of deal with this in a longer fashion. And this is the preparation that the meditation really gives for the changing of the guard, so to speak. It passes out by the upper openings of the mouth and nose. This is interesting here. Whoever has done good, now that's the good works and activity. It passes out, the pure and light energy rises upward and floats up to heaven and becomes the fivefold present shadow genius or shadow spirit. But if during life the primal spirit was used by the conscious spirit for avarice, folly, desire, and lust, and committed all sorts of sins, we've got an assortment of those available, then in the moment of death, the spirit energy is turbid and confused, and the conscious spirit passes out together with the breath through the lower openings of the door of the belly. For if the spirit energy is turbid and unclean, it crystallizes downward and sinks down to hell and becomes a demon. Then, not only does the primal spirit lose its nature, but the power and wisdom of the true human nature is thereby lessened. Therefore, the Master says, if it moves, that is not good. Now,
do you think the soul, so to speak, really leaves through the belly? Or is it not through this center? We've given you a chart showing the relationship of the centers to the planets. And I think what this is talking about, there's association between the planets and the dimensions. Which dimension will it move out to? And it goes through the center, like the solar plexus, goes right out to that dimension associated with Mars, you see. Because that's the attunement level. That's the frequency to which it's attuned. And so when it leaves, it just goes right out through that vibration into that consciousness. If one wants to maintain the primal spirit, one must, without fail, first subjugate the perceiving spirit. The way to subjugate it is through the circulation of the light. If one practices the circulation of the light, one must forget both body and heart. The heart must die, the spirit live. When the spirit lives, the breath will begin to circulate in a wonderful way. This is what the Master called the very best. Then the spirit must be allowed to dive down into the abdomen, the solar plexus, or we would say the adrenals as well. The energy then has intercourse with spirit, and spirit unites with the energy and crystallizes itself. This is the method of starting the work.
You know, I think it would help you if you go back as we're reading these sections through here and read again Jesus' parables that are related to the bridegroom and the coming and the preparation for the marriage and the lights and the virgins with the lights and all of that. I think he's talking, personally, it seems to me that he's talking about this whole process of this taking place gradually in the body, and it's steps by steps, preparation for it, and then the marriage and so forth.
The sequence, we're about to read now half a dozen sequences, these steps. Sometimes we think, well, meditation, it's as though today or 6 months from now it might be the same. No, there are sequences, there are steps to be done. This is one of the reasons we insist so strongly on the virtue of using the Search for God material and those affirmations, is because there's a growth process in which we can move from one sequence to another. But to take the same affirmation or the same mantra and use it for months and years, you don't move through those processes. And just as in a flower, there's the germination of the seed, the sending down of the root, the first movement upward, and then the leaves, and so on. There are steps here to be observed. So we've just looked at what the method of starting, and then observed the following sequences.
In time, the primal spirit transforms itself in the indwelling of the life into the true energy. At that time, the method of the turning of the mill wheel must be applied in order to distill it so that it becomes the elixir of life. That is the method of concentrated work.
Probably correlated with the chapter on patience.
Yeah. the
turning of the mill wheel.
Yeah, the active persistence and work at it. You get in meditation, the work of meditation just bogs down. You've got to be still. And it's so difficult to stop that mind and stop that body and stop those pictures from rushing in. You're sitting there getting excited over the television stuff or the body's movement, need for it. All of that. It takes work to move that through. Slow down.
You can use some of this imagery to motivate you. If you find yourself bogging down and not wanting to, we'll say, well, maybe I'm at the stage of the method of the mill wheel. And then know that you've got to get up and grind on. When the life elixir pearl is finished, the holy embryo can be formed. Then the work must be directed to the warming and nourishing of the spiritual embryo. That's the method of finishing.
When the energy body of the child is fully formed, the work must be so directed that the embryo is born and returns to emptiness. That is the method of ending the work.
In the Revelation, you're studying that this afternoon with Arian, there's about the 11th, 12th, 12th chapter. It says a great portent was seen in heaven, a woman about to give birth to a child. Now that child relates to this embryo that we're talking about, because the child is the Christ infant that has just begun to be awakened within us. So when the Christ is set as the ideal, the devil of self-will is cast down from heaven into earth. And then the infant Christ is made the ruler. But it needs protection. And it needs the nourishing and care, which is a stage in the awakening.
If you go through those first steps in the Revelation, there's the bowing down of each of the lower centers, and the bowing down of the whole guardian, all the nerve centers of the body, I think, are symbolized there. There's a complete stillness and silence with the opening of the seventh seal. And, you get this whole process described step by step there.
From the most ancient times till today, this is not empty talk, but the sequence of the great way in the true method of producing an eternally living and immortal spirit and holy man.
So many places that this new man is talked about. The work of the Gurdjieff groups related to the new man that's being formed, speaking of this change and awakening. A lot of places. But if the work is so far consummated, then everything belonging to the dark principle is wholly absorbed, and the body is born into pure light. When the conscious spirit has been transformed into the primal spirit, then only can one say that it has attained an infinite capacity for transformation, and, departing from the cycle of birth, has been brought to the sixfold present golden genius. If this method of ennobling is not applied, how will the way of being born and dying be escaped? This is the finishing up. It's talking here about a total experience in the earth, not it's moving back to God consciousness at this point.
Now, Hugh, this passage reminds me of one in Hebrews 2 in the New Testament. It says, how shall we escape if we neglect so great a salvation? It's just something so simple and straightforward here. It says, if this method of ennobling is not applied, how will the way of being born and dying be escaped?
Yeah, we'll just keep going on and on and on.
We come to think we believe in reincarnation, and sometimes I think once we say we believe in it, then we think somehow we're going to be freed of it. And we think, well, I'm not going to come back next time, or I'm not going to have these problems next time if we don't do something different. Just knowing that there is the cycle will not necessarily free us from it.
We'll be running around like that man that carried the thing around in his pocket, said, I didn't believe in reincarnation when I was here last time.